Slick Watts wasn't blessed with the athletic ability of most of his peers in the league, but his advanced IQ allowed him to still be effective. After barely making the Sonics in 1973, he carved out a role as an elite defender and passer off the bench. His unique look of a bald head with a crooked headband stuck out like a sore thumb, but his infectious personality and relentless effort on the court made him a fan favorite in Seattle. Bill Russell finally gave him the starting job in 1975, and he shocked the league with his perimeter defense and passing, as he was the first player to lead the league in assists and steals, being named to the first team all-defense. But Slick wasn't a perfect player, as he didn't have the consistent outside shot to keep the defense honest. His efficiency wasn't the best, and he often gambled for steals, getting in foul trouble or giving up easy points if he missed. Once Dennis Johnson came along, Slick lost his starting job and was traded to New Orleans, and he didn't play too much longer after this. But a little known fact is that he has the lowest career defensive rating for a point guard ever. Even though his time in the league was short, Slick was still a legend in Seattle, as after the NBA, he worked in the school system for 20 years while also attending many sporting events in the Pacific Northwest. Today's video will look at the brief but memorable career of the late, great Slick Watts. Welcome to PZ Hoops, and let's get down to it. Donald Watts was born on July 22, 1951 in Rolling Fork, Mississippi. When he was 13, he suffered a scalp injury while playing football. This caused his hair to grow in uneven patches, so he chose to shave his head bald. He was initially teased by the other kids, but he owned the look, as his nickname Slick resembled his shiny head. He was a solid basketball player at Henry Weather High School as well, as after graduation, he attended Grandview Junior College, averaging 14 points a game. He then transferred to Xavier, an HBCU in Louisiana, coached by Bob Hopkins. Donald would team up with future pro Bruce Seals, as during his junior season, they led the Gold Rush to their first district championship after a narrow win over Nicholls State, but they would lose in the NAIA tournament semifinal against Westmont. As a senior, he led Xavier to another district championship, as he got an upset win over Sam Houston State in the tournament. The Bearcats hadn't lost a game in 2 years up to that point. The Gold Rush would eventually lose to Maryland Eastern Shore in the semifinal. Slick was an All-American and the school's all-time leading scorer by the time he graduated, but Xavier was a very small program, so he really wasn't noticed by scouts. The 1973 NBA draft had 20 rounds and 211 picks, but Slick's name wasn't called, although he was picked in the second round by the Memphis Tam of the ABA. However, his head coach would give him an opportunity, as Bob Hopkins was the cousin of Bill Russell, the head coach and GM of the Seattle Supersonics. Bob sold Bill on Slick's defensive abilities and secured him a tryout with the team. Slick made a pretty good impression in camp, and he earned a spot as the backup behind Dick Snyder and Fred Brown, although Russell later said, "I really don't know why I kept him." Slick's rookie salary was a mere $19,000, and he wasn't getting a lot of minutes to start his career, but he was producing when he got the chance. On December 2nd against the Bullets, he came out of nowhere, dropping 24 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals. After this game, he would be in the starting lineup for the rest of December, and he was stuffing the stat sheet, albeit on low efficiency. On January 4th against Chicago, he put up 14 points and 17 assists. Slick's effort on defense really impressed Bill, allowing him to live with Slick's mistakes, as he was foul prone, getting disqualified 7 times, while his shot selection left a lot to be desired. He still had a productive rookie season, recording 12 games with double-digit assists and 9 games with at least 3 steals. The Sonics as a whole were still trying to find their identity as a team, so they finished 36 and 46, missing the playoffs. Slick finished 3rd in Rookie of the Year voting with averages of 8 points, 3 rebounds, 5.5 assists, and 2 steals. The Sonics drafted Tom Burleson from NC State in 1974, as Slick would still come off the bench behind new acquisition Archie Clark. He was playing pretty well in his role, dropping 9 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, and 6 steals against the Knicks, and 13 points, 6 rebounds, 14 assists, and a career-high 9 steals on February 23rd against Philly. The game before that, he dropped his first career triple-double with 12 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists, and 4 steals. Slick was among the league leaders this year, finishing 2nd in steals and 5th in assists. Tom had a decent rookie season, while Leonard Gray, another rookie, made his mark as a starting power forward. The Sonics were still an average team, but they benefited from an unusually bad season by the Lakers, as their 43-39 record was enough for their first playoff berth in franchise history. Slick averaged 7 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2.5 steals, as the Sonics faced Detroit in the first round. Slick had a shaky playoff debut, with 2 points, 3 rebounds, and 6 assists on 1 of 6 shooting, but Seattle was still able to win. He redeemed himself with 15 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists, and 6 steals in Game 2, but the Sonics lost. He had another solid performance in Game 3, as the Sonics won the game and the series. The Warriors were a tougher test in the second round, as Slick had a nice Game 4 performance with 11 points, 6 rebounds, and 10 assists, as Seattle tied the series. Slick played every minute of Game 6, dropping 24 points, 4 rebounds, and 11 assists, but the Warriors won this game to advance. In his first 2 seasons in Seattle, Slick had become famous for wearing a headband, the first player since Wilt to wear it on a regular basis. It made sense, as with Slick's bald head, he needed something to keep the sweat out of his eyes. He was also popular amongst the fans, as he made sure to always sign autographs until everyone was satisfied, with him also doing multiple speaking engagements in the Seattle area. After Slick's solid postseason last year, the Sonics were fully behind him as their starter, trading away Archie and giving Slick a 3-year, $300,000 contract, an insane amount for essentially a walk-on at the time. But the ever-humble Watts said he wouldn't take the money unless he felt like he earned it. The Sonics traded Spencer to the Knicks for Gene Short in a first-rounder, while they also brought in a familiar face, signing Slick's college teammate Bruce Seals after 2 years in the ABA. Slick was playing great in his first 20 games as a full-time starter, averaging 13 points, 4 rebounds, 9 assists, and 2.5 steals on career-high efficiency. On December 14th against Philly, he dropped 16 points, 6 rebounds, 10 assists, and 8 steals, followed by another triple-double on March 3rd against Detroit with 21 points, 10 rebounds, and 16 assists. With the freedom to play his game, Slick had the best season of his career, dropping 13 20-point games, 3 games with double-digit rebounds, 32 games with double-digit assists, and 16 games with at least 5 steals. He also made history this season as the first player ever to lead the league in assists and steals, and he was rewarded with a first-team All-Defense selection. He was also celebrated for his work in the community with the J. Walter Kennedy Citizenship Award. Fred, Tom, and Leonard all had career years, but even with Slick's defensive presence, Seattle gave up the 3rd most points in the league. The Sonics finished with an identical 43-39 record, as Slick's career year saw him average 13 points, 4.5 rebounds, 8 assists, and 3 steals. The Sonics faced the Suns in the semifinals, as Slick dropped 11 points, 8 assists, and 2 steals in Game 1, and 14 points, 5 rebounds, 12 assists, and 3 steals in Game 5, as Seattle forced a Game 6. He had his best performance of the series with 24 points, 6 rebounds, 11 assists, and 3 steals, but the Suns would easily win to take the series. Slick's fame in Seattle had reached new heights, as Sports Illustrated posted about him, with an excerpt reading, "Whether or not Slick Watts is the most popular athlete ever to perform in the state of Washington is no longer in question. Forget Hugh McKelney, Elgin Baylor, and Lenny Wilkens. The question is, why do Washingtonians regard a totally bald, 6-foot, 24-year-old black backcourt man as the most popular man ever to live in the state?" Seattle drafted Dennis Johnson and Bob Wilkerson in 1976, while also trading for Nick Weatherspoon to play the 3. Slick was continuing his solid play from last year, as he was putting up his best numbers yet to start the season. This included a game against the Bullets, where he dropped a career-high 37 points along with 13 assists and 5 steals. On December 21st against Chicago, he dished a career-high 18 assists, while tying his career high with 9 steals on March 27th against the Suns. Slick had 2 triple-doubles, 18 20-point games, 3 games with double-digit rebounds, 27 games with double-digit assists, and 13 games with at least 5 steals. He didn't lead the league in assists and steals again, but he was 2nd and 3rd in those categories respectively. But it seemed like Seattle was destined to be an average team, as they still had one of the lowest scoring offenses in the league, as their 40-42 record wasn't enough for the playoffs. Slick averaged 13 points, 4 rebounds, 8 assists, and 3 steals. The start of the 1977 season would be familiar for Slick, as Bob Hopkins was now the head coach of the team after Bill stepped down. Through the first month and a half of the season, Slick's numbers had dipped quite a bit, as Seattle started the year 5-17. Bob was fired and replaced with Lenny Wilkens. Now without a coach that was in his corner, Slick's playing time decreased by a lot. This is also due to the fact that Dennis Johnson was really coming into his own. He was an even better defender than Slick, plus he was taller, more athletic, and a better shooter. Slick's time in Seattle would end on January 4th, as he was traded to New Orleans for a first-round pick. Chuck Robinson was in the middle of a career year, but Pete Maravich was dealing with knee issues all season. Slick was the 3rd point guard behind Gail Goodrich and Jim McElroy, but he was still an effective player. In March, he got a little more opportunity as the Jazz tried to make a playoff push, dropping 24 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals on the 4th, and 26 points, 4 rebounds, and 7 assists on the 22nd. The Jazz finished 39-43, falling just short of the postseason, as between the two teams, Slick averaged 7 points, 2.5 rebounds, 4 assists, and 1.5 steals. He had to watch from home as the team he started his career with made it to the finals. Slick would be on the move again before the 1978 season, being traded to Houston for a first-rounder. Slick was the backup point guard behind Calvin Murphy, but he was only averaging about 17 minutes a game. He still provided great passing and defensive effort in his limited role, but he played like his best self from time to time. On January 6th against the Lakers, he only dropped 4 points, but he did 17 assists and stole the ball 5 times. 2 games later against Cleveland, he dropped 14 points, 5 rebounds, 12 assists, and 6 steals. He failed to crack 20 points this year, but Slick still had 3 games with double-digit assists and 10 games with at least 3 steals. The Rockets' big three carried the team, especially the MVP Moses Malone, as Houston finished 47-35. Slick averaged 4 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal. The Rockets faced the Hawks in the first round, as Slick had a decent role off the bench. In Game 1, he dropped 8 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, and 3 steals, but Houston would lose. He dropped 6 points in Game 2, but the Rockets lost this game as well, losing the series. Slick was released by the Rockets after the season. In December 1980, Slick signed with the Anchorage Northern Knights of the CBA in an attempt to get back to the NBA. He only averaged 2 points, 3 rebounds, and a steal on 20% shooting in 7 games with the team. In January, he would leave the team without notice, leading to the CBA releasing a statement in the paper entitled, "Has anyone seen Slick Watts?" as the statement urged anyone who saw Slick to tell him that he had been cut from the team. The Anchorage head coach Bill Klukas later commented, "Slick couldn't play a lick." Slick would officially retire after this, as he would work in the Seattle school system as a gym teacher and basketball coach, also running a basketball academy with his son. Even though he only played 4.5 years with the Sonics, he was regarded as a legend in the Seattle hoop scene, often showing up to Seattle Storm and the University of Washington games. Even when the team moved to Oklahoma City, Slick was named to the Sonics' 40th anniversary team. Donald's 2 sons and his grandchildren would all go on to play college basketball. He continued to be a beloved member of the Seattle community until his passing on March 15, 2025 at the age of 73. Slick Watts was a one-of-a-kind player with a one-of-a-kind look, as his bald head and crooked headband led to his increased recognition. He was an extremely tough defender, hawking the passing lanes or poking the ball loose on the perimeter. His IQ was higher than people give him credit for, as he always knew where his teammates were for easy passes. At times, he could even take his man off the dribble and finish at the rim. While he wasn't consistent enough to be a permanent starter, he still found ways to impact the game, even without scoring a lot of points. His NBA career was pretty much over after he left Seattle, but the impact he had on the community was respected by many, as so many Seattle fans call him their favorite player to don the green and gold. Slick's impression on the basketball world went far beyond the court, as he was truly a selfless individual, dedicating most of his post-NBA career to helping the youth. Man, thank you guys. I really appreciate y'all for watching. I really want to get to Slick Watts because, of course, he's such a unique guy. Like, you see this bald guy with a crooked headband at 70, like, people are like, who is that? You know, because nobody looked like that back then. But the fact that he was such a great defender and a great passer, he knew how to play his role very well. Like, he hawks the passing lanes. He knows where to be at on defense. Like, he knows where his guys are to pass the ball. Like, he's a smarter player than people give him credit for. When you make it in the league and you're not specifically the best athlete, you still have to find ways to outsmart your opponents. But Slick was a great player, man. He was a great player in his role, man. He did what he had to do. Like, he really worked hard. He was a hard worker. He was a great person off the court. He wanted to help the youth. Like, he dedicated his whole life after basketball to teaching in schools and, like, being close to people, being in the community. Like, that's a good guy. You know, that's a really good guy. Everyone spoke very highly of him. When you go to a system where the coaches believe in you, that's what happens when the coaches believe in what you can do. Again, in the NBA, there's always going to be someone that's bigger than you, stronger than you, more athletic than you, might be even better than you. I mean, Dennis Johnson came along and he was just a better version of Slick Watts. From going undrafted to barely making the squad to making first team all defense and setting an NBA record. That's tough, man. That's tough. Shout out to Slick Watts. RIP to you, man. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate y'all. Leave a like if you enjoyed that. Subscribe if you're new to my channel. Turn my post notifications on if you haven't already. But thank you. Please be safe. I'm out. Peace.